Good morning, good afternoon, or a good evening, depending on what time you are watching around the world. My name is DesFinance, and welcome to my brand new show, DesFinance Talks. Success leaves clues. This is a new podcast that aims to provide the audience with valuable insight into how to become successful. How do we obtain it? Well, what is success, I hear you ask? According to Earl Nightingale, success is defined as the progressive realization of a worthy goal. So I ask you, what is your worthy goal? Write it down. You see, guests will be from all walks of life, but the aim for each interview will focus on the journey of the guest and valuable information, knowledge, and nuggets that the audience can take away for their success journey. I only have 3 rules. 1, that you have a notepad, a pen, or something to take notes because you do not want to lose these gems. 2, if you hear something and it stings, it's meant for you. 3, and this is the most important, do not leave any of my podcasts without noting the actions that you are going to take. If you ask me what's been the one thing that's helped me along my journey, it's simply taking action. You see, I'm an action man. Just a tiny bit about me, so we're not strangers. 6 years ago, I was a secondary school teacher in East London, and as much as I loved my job, I was living paycheck to paycheck. I was broke, busted, and disgusted. Then an opportunity came my way and I took mass action. And the rest, as they say, is history. If you're serious about your success journey, whatever it may be, then make sure that you subscribe and hit the bell. In fact, do it right now. Take action. And now, on to our next guest. Action, let's go. Wow, wow, wow. A massive warm welcome to this episode of DesFinance Talks. Success leaves clues. And today, we've got an incredible guest with an amazing, amazing story. If you're here because you're looking to get into the property market, then you are absolutely in the right place. Guys, grab your notepads and your pens because we're about to hear from the incredible Mr. Sean Land. Land by name and land by nature. Sean, thank you so much for being at this podcast.
Thank you for having me.
So excited. I want to dive straight in and I want to ask you to tell us a bit about your background.
Rewinding a little bit back before I was even born, my granddad came from real poverty. It was in India he was born, but it was actually called it was India, but it's now Pakistan. That's what it's called. And he emigrated there to the India side. And when we did that, we had to start from zero. Like he had no money, nothing. It was one room, 3 brothers, mum, dad in the same room, and they started with zero. All he said, I was going out selling candy floss. And from there, he bumped into a guy who was a dentist. And by the age of 14, 15, that's where he said his fortune was there, where he learned how to do dentistry, take people's teeth out, put molds in. And that's where, at the age of 15, he went fully self-employed.
Wow.
So that changed. So that changed his life, and then he went Singapore, Thailand, Malaysia, until he got a visa in the 60s to come to the UK. And once he got here and he realized the system is very good, he got my grandma and then my dad and his 2 brothers to come over. And so it required my granddad's generation, my dad's generation to come into a better system, and then a whole generation for him and my uncle to work very hard to put all of the money into one pot to buy that first shop. Sure. And even then, it was like people might be going, your dad had a shop. What does that mean? Well, it means that he's got a corner shop that might turn over £5,000 a month, means 2,000 for my uncle, 2,000 for my dad, and maybe £1,000 for the business to keep in there. So is that really rich money? And you got to think, out of that 2,000, he's got to pay his mortgage. There was 5 of, us kids. to support all the family. And then on top of that, he had to save for another asset that was going to help him get out of the 9 to 5 to start creating some passive income. So it was a really hard slog. And that's where, in a way, we went through a bit of pain and we went through a little bit of hardship where you get bullied for it. You get made to feel like you're nothing. You're second-class citizen. And people who are on benefits, you see them with the Reeboks Classics and all of the nice clothes, and you go, Dad, can I have that? No, you don't need it. You've got a roof over your head, you got food, go and help us out in the shop. And you're thinking, at the time, you got a little bit of anger going, well, why is the guy on, his parents don't even work, on benefits? How comes he's wearing Reebok trainers and I'm getting bullied for wearing high-techs? I just basically felt in a position where I was backed up in a corner with both my hands up, and I'm like, how am I going to fight? How am I going to fight to get out of this position? How am I going to not disrespect my parents, but to say, parents, I'm going to take you guys to another level. I can help you guys one day. You know, how can I get the family out of this sort of...
How old are you during this thought process?
I'm between, like, my thoughts began around about the age of 12, 13, 14, 15, especially when it came to secondary school. Because secondary school, I went to a boys' school and it was very different to primary. In primary school, you know, you get 11-year-olds. We're playing with a tennis ball, football in the playground. You're playing pogs back then. You know, you're having a little laugh and joke. People say hurtful things, but it's just a little joke. But when you go to secondary school, you're 11-year-old, and all of a sudden you're around 15, 16-year-olds, people from council estates, people who are 6'5", basketball players, and all of a sudden you're getting throttled for being fat boy and give me your lunch money. People might be laughing at home right now, but one day in PE, we're sitting down, I'm with one of my friends, and I've always had skinny chicken legs sort of thing, and one of the guys had massive calf muscles, and we was doing sprinting, and we was just waiting for our turn, and I went, bro, your calves are massive, well done, bro. And somebody just went, he's gay. And that's it. About 20 people rushed me at the end of that day, non-stop, kicking me, punching me, just for saying that comment. And I became very wary of the language I used around people, because everything that you said, and it really, really did hurt my confidence. It really hurt me even until last 3 years to get on a stage to have my message said, because you think, is someone going to get offended? Is someone going to say, shut up, fat boy? You know, these things are in your mind. These things do scar you. So when people say it's easy what you've done, or you've had a hand-me-down, it isn't always like that. But it's how you deal with these situations. And I suppose something that never leaves my mind is, you got to remember, school teaches you about certain topics and subjects to pass an exam. It's not your agenda, it's not work agenda, it's what they want you to pass. So it teaches you a skill of reading material and how you engage in that material and how you answer a question. So it gives you that skill. But is that dinosaur that lived billions of years ago going to help you today? No, it's not. And that's what you got to identify. Don't sit and let life happen to you, because very quickly you'll find out that this getting an A on my paper is not going to get me through life, because that's not giving me experience. You even go into a 9 to 5 job, and then you'll have the best time for the first 6 to 9 months. You might go in as a cashier, you're learning how to count money, you're learning how to communicate with customers, you're going through some training programs. And then what happens? Well, you're getting your A rated on your service, you get that little 10% in your pay rise, but you realize there's something called inflation, and inflation's going higher. So people think they're getting more money if they're like, for example, if you're on 30,000 and you get a 10% pay rise, it's £300 more. And you're thinking, or £3,000 more, and you're thinking, wow, I'm getting 33 grand. But your expenses was at 20,000. That might not be at 20,000 no more, because things are costing more. And all of a sudden, is actually 25,000 that's going out. So you're actually losing £2,000, but you can't work it out. You can't work it out why you're in a bad mood, why you ain't got money in your account, why things are getting harder, why you can't go out them last couple of days. It's because that job is keeping you there and you're not realizing the financial literacy side of things.
Wow.
So you've done this whole training for what they want to do. So do you know what you end up losing? You end up losing the ability to hunt. What do I mean by that? Well, hunting is a skill where you actually start thinking for yourself about your own personal goals. So here's a little tip for you people at home right now is get a piece of paper or set up something on your notes and write something called personal goals. And write something that's outside of your family, outside of your education, outside of your workspace, and go, I would like to achieve this. And do not let that thought leave your mind. So for you to even do that, it's got to be something that you're passionate about, something that doesn't feel like work to you, and a skill that maybe other people might pay for. So once you write that goal, you need to then realize, how do I get closer to making these goals become a reality? And sometimes the place where you are and the place that you want to be, the only thing stopping you from getting there is something called experience. And there's certain people out there who have all of that experience that can give it, just like a doctor will give you a tablet to fix a problem that you might be having. A mentor also says, well, you're here right now and you want to get there. Here's the 5 things that you need to plug in straight away and just get better at, and there you go. So rather than saying, I know it all, you need to invest in yourself.
What an intro. What an intro. So much to unpick there. I like what you said about investing in yourself. That's a real powerful nugget. And there's 2 things that I picked up from that intro. One was the inspiration of your grandfather. What a story. The inspiration from your dad as well. And I can only imagine what that did to you in terms of like your motivation. But I also picked up the trauma of school and so forth. So together I'm picking up a sense, because I want my next question is going to be about your why and what drives you.
Yeah.
And I'm already picking up a sense of the inspiration from home, but then also, this, the trauma that you faced in terms of maybe wanting to, show those guys, I'm gonna kill you with my success almost. But you tell me, what would you say your why is before we get into the nuts and bolts of what you do and how you do it and how you got into it? What's driving you right now?
What drives me is we are family people. I've got mum there, dad there, got my partner, I've got kids. It's to never have any of what happened to me ever happen to them. So just alone with private schooling fees, it's costing me £60,000. Why?
Easy.
I don't want them to take the hits that I took. I don't want them to be bullied. I don't want them to feel like, they have to go through all of this hardship. Yes, it is important. So I teach them hardship in different ways, in terms of what they can have, what they can't have, what they need to work for, I still got that driving factor, the mechanisms of, give me this before you can have that, not a mindless thought process of, here you go. And then they don't have to work for it, and then they lose that ability to hunt. But they shouldn't need to walk down the street to say, my little 8210 is going to get mugged any minute, or I'm going to get rushed by people. They should have that ability to learn. And it's my responsibility to bring good humans into the world, people who are going to add to businesses, create good jobs for other people who are going to add to society, not people who are going to eat into the benefit system, have the same trauma. When I look at the kids, if my kids, like, for example, I've got potentially a networking event coming out in October, and how I've planned that is nothing like anyone else. I want my daughter, who's 14 years old, to open it up with a song. She's got a beautiful voice, sings right from the throat, not even from the mouth. Like, she's got so much harmony. I want to give her that stage to say, you get my stage and elevate yourself. This is your first step into some of your dreams, what you want to achieve. I want my 10-year-old who knows how to play the piano, who's already at GCSE level, to have his first performance on one of my gigs. And Sean, the middle child, not all children are the same, but, he didn't get chosen to do a presenting in one of his school plays. Well, you can present my show. baby boy, I'll give you that opportunity. Why? Because I don't want them to ever feel like I ever felt.
Absolutely incredible. So I want to ask you a question, just going back to some of the adversity that you faced, because I do feel that that's a big driver for you. And I'm reminded by a famous quote from Napoleon Hill, who famously said, for every piece of adversity, or for every adversity, it carries with it the seed of an equivalent or greater benefit. So as much as you don't want your kids to go through what you went through, and as fathers, we're parents, we all want the same thing. If you could go back now, would you still allow what happened to you to happen to you, or would you erase it?
I would allow everything that happened to me to happen to me. Why? Because being perfect is very, very boring. Life would not shape me the way it shaped me. I wouldn't have had that drive of becoming something or becoming a someone, because I was always at the bottom of the pile, never chosen, never the first one to be picked, and on a team, never the first one somebody probably wanted to date, and maybe not him, he's a bit overweight or not as good looking, or he's annoying, or, it wouldn't give me that drive of fighting. However, it doesn't mean that I'm taking that ability away from my children either. I might not be giving them lessons, but remember, life is all about growth. My son wants a Lego set. He's very, very good. He can put 2,000 pieces. That takes 4 days. He can do that in 4 hours. He's got that level of attention. And I've noticed his level of attention due to my ability to assess him. He might not be in the top math set, but he's very good with his engineering and bricks. Why? Because he's got a totally different attention span to the other kids. So do I tell him off? Do I put him down for not being as good as the others? No, because, hey, you could have a monkey here and an elephant there. Why judge them both on climbing a tree? The monkey's got a different ability to climb that tree than that elephant. So don't judge people. But I have that ability to see that. Now, should I put him in a place where he's bullied? No, because that's not going to help him. That's going to deter how much he can learn. But do I say, I know you really like Lego, but you can't have Lego right now because I know that's the thing you love the most. I would like the level grade 1 on the piano. Once that level 1 is achieved, because yes, you are a little bit behind, and that's okay to be behind, but it's not okay to do this for 2 years and not get even a grade 1, because you need to have something to show for this hard work. And why do I want you to learn piano? Because you use your left hand, you use your right hand, you learn to read music, and you learn to play buttons. So what's that doing? It's opening up your ability to think of multiple things at the same time. I'm giving him a skill. Now, I'm not telling him off for it. I'm not beating him up for it. But I'm saying, when you get me that level 1, which provisionally the test is in December, then you can have the biggest Lego set that you need. So the challenges and tests are still, I need to work hard, I need to get this test passed. That same thought process of, I need to get through school, I need to get through these challenges before I can get that right job or that right business. It's the same thought process, but it's in a more constructive way to fight differently now. Nothing to keep him, gatekeep him and pull him back with a big weight, but something that was actually propel him from where I am, that shoot him. So I might be a property owner, this guy might be building skyscrapers.
That's incredible. And I really want to hone in, before we move on to the next segment, on the power of perception. And the reason why I say that is because when I think about your journey, things happen to you, but you manage to have the right perception of that. Because there'll be people watching this that will have opinions on their past, opinions on the way they were brought up, and they might be letting those circumstances hold them back. So they might have self-limiting beliefs. They might be letting their school bullies get into their heads, and they're not able to progress. But what you did was, you was able to look at your situation and have the right perception to say, no, actually, I'm going to use this as a way to move forward. So how did the whole property thing come about? How did you get into property, and and how's it all going?
Well, it all started at the age of 12. I was in my dad's shop, and it was one of them days where it was a hot day. I took his sandals, and I was like, Mum said, I have to bring your sandals. Here you go. Take your trainers off, take your socks off, get your sandals on. Yeah, anything else you need, Dad? All right. And then I'm going to go home. And he's like, no, just sit here. And so he's got these lever arch folders. He's going through tick box exercise. So I see the Barclays account, and it's like 3-4 grand. And I was like, it's a lot of money. It's a lot of money. And then he takes out the other one, and it was a NatWest, and I saw around 70,000 in there, and I went, I can't even really read that number. What's that? And he goes, oh, that's what we get for opposite. And I was like, what do you mean? I never see you opposite. He goes, yeah, because it's rented. And I was like, well, what does that mean? He goes, well, we bought the butcher shop for 30 grand. Your granddad put 10,000 in. I put 10,000 in. Uncle put 10,000. We all saved that, and we bought it cash. And then we renovated it, which plastered it, a little bit of electrics, and we've now rented it, and this is the rent that comes in. And I was like, holy shit, I never see you go there. It's the most amount of money I've ever seen in my whole life. It looks like there's no time spent there, whereas you're all day in the shop. When I grow up, I want to do that business. I don't want to be a shopkeeper where I'm spending all my day and night over here, etc. So the thought process started at the age of 12. So the belief system of real estate and getting into real estate, it wasn't scary to me because I saw my dad and my uncle from the shop, which was a cash flowing system. They put their earned cash into assets, and that's when they started buying in 95, 96. So when it was in 2002 and I finished college and I was on my way to uni, the first thing is I wanted to pay for my driving license. Why? Because I wanted to be mobile. I didn't want to get on trains. I didn't want to be on public transport. So I passed my driving license. That summer I saved up for a car. Then I saved up for my university fees. I don't know why I wanted to go to university, but I was at that crossroad, that point where I did not know what I wanted to actually do in my life. So what did I want to do? Well, I wanted to do the most I could at that point. I didn't want to go traveling. I didn't want to go and get into debt. I didn't want to travel to different countries because I'm like, well, I don't know what I want to do. So why waste time? And fortunately enough, the time that I was leaving university, 6 months before, I applied to the bank. And I applied for a normal cashier role, not a university graduate degree or nothing like that. And that was the same year that the financial crash happened in 2008. So while my friends were on gap years, went traveling, and then was unemployed for the next 3 years, in them 3 years, I ended up being employed. I ended up getting the top leads in West End area. I ended up getting promoted to a coordinator a year later. 4 months after that, I became a personal banker, #1 in West End, and then got headhunted to be a premier manager, which is look after millionaires. And in that time, even as a cashier wage, that was actually my savings money. So people are probably thinking, so what did you live on? Well, I actually had a side hustle on top of that. I worked in McDonald's. At the age of 16, I actually entered McDonald's. Before that, actually, I worked in a cash and carry at the age of 13. On Saturdays, Sundays, and then summer holiday, I used to pick up heavy goods, scan them, put them on another trolley, count the items, here's your bill, and load up cars. I learned up diversification of income because I earned money being on the cashier desk, but then also when I was loading up cars, I'd get £5 to load up people's cars. So if I helped 8 people, I got 40 quid. I was getting £3 an hour, that was 30 quid. So I actually earned more loading cars than the actual job itself. So I learned that money was a thing that I could earn. And then I worked in McDonald's, and within 8 months I became a manager. And that's exactly what I did. And throughout uni, I'd done the McDonald job. But as soon as I went into Barclays, on Monday to Friday, I'd work in Barclays and I'd save at least £1,000 from my wages. And Saturday, Sunday, I'd earn Saturday, I'd earn 100 quid. Sunday, I'd earn 100 quid. End of the month, I'll have £800. Now, don't get it twisted. When I went to the bank on a Monday morning and people go, how was your weekend, Sean? And I was like, well, Saturday I got up at 7, started work at 8. Finished at 4 o'clock, and then I went out with my mates and go, you did what on a Sunday? I didn't get up to 12 o'clock. you're crazy, you're a mad one. But when I was 21 and I've saved up £14,000 over, 12 months, and somebody in the bank actually wanted to sell their property for 140,000, I had my 10% deposit. I saved up money, and I don't know why I saved up money. I just put that £1,000 away every single month because I heard about something called a rainy day. And so I put money away for a rainy day, and all of a sudden I had the perfect opportunity that came right in front of me to put that 10% down on that property to purchase it. Now, you can tell me in the comment section right now, was I lucky? Was I lucky that I bought my first house? Or did my hard work meet that opportunity? Because that's what I believe personally luck is when you work hard and the right opportunity comes in front of you. I wanted to live there myself for the first 3 months. I thought, yeah, I've made it. I'm going to live by myself. And I very quickly realized in them 3 months that, wow, this is taking money out of my pocket. My expenses has just gone up. So before long, I called up the bank and I went, look, I can't afford to live here. Can I rent this place out? And funny enough, they gave me something called a permission to let. I paid £295 and they said, you can let this property, and then after a couple of years, we'll change it to a proper buy-to-let mortgage. And that's exactly what I did. And that way, I ended up getting £1,000 rent, £500 was my mortgage, so I made £500. Now, here's a top tip for you people at home. I had an account for where my McDonald money came out of. And I used to use that for all of my expenses. And I just used to live within their means. When I worked in the bank, I still never kept my eye off the ball. And even though my salary went up, that was my savings account. And then I ended up opening another account where my rent went in for this property. So I started creating pots of money because I was like, if there's any problems with the property, it's not coming out of my money. It's coming out of the rent money. It's that cut. If there's some savings that I needed or wanted to purchase something, it's coming out of that because I'm working for that. And this McDonald money is what I get to spend. And I actually lived by that same formula at least to the age of 27. But what that ended up enabling me to do is by the age of 26, 27, I had 4 properties and accumulatively in assets that was over £1 million. So I became a millionaire at the age of 26, 27 with what I was doing with my earned income, putting it into assets to create that passive income and achieving that greatness.
I just want to applaud that because that's absolutely phenomenal and very inspirational, I have to say. And I want to unpick what you've said so far because there's lots of gems in there for people to really get their teeth into. And that's why we're here. We're here to learn and we're here to grow. There's a couple of things that I want to pick up on. And of course, I love this conversation. My background's in finance.
Nice.
Obviously, the name DesFinance gives that away. But also, I used to be a mortgage broker as well in a previous life after I was a school teacher teaching finance and business. But a few things that you said that I want to pick up on. First thing I want to say is that you're absolutely right. There's nothing like luck. That doesn't exist. There's cause and effect, and you've made your own luck, absolutely. But first thing I want to talk about is your discipline and your sacrifice, because that's the thing that I really want to kind of hone in on. Because the question I asked was, how did you get into it? And you answered it directly, and I don't want it to go over anyone's heads, anyone watching. And if you are watching and you're taking notes, and I hope that you're taking notes, because we do say note takers are the money makers. But if you listen carefully to Sean's story, the hallmark of everything is the fact that he was incredibly disciplined and made sacrifices. So while his peers may have, enjoyed their weekends or just had the one job, because of the vision that he had, he decided, actually, I'm going to work extra hours and be disciplined enough to put that money away and not touch it. And that is one of the traits of people that I speak to that have gotten to the property ladder early. I mean, unless they've had a windfall or some parental help, but people like Sean, who I describe as self-made, they make that sacrifice and they are incredibly disciplined. So I really want you to write those 2 words down, because if you can develop the level of discipline and sacrifice that you've just heard, anything is possible. And that's the power that we have as humans. That's the power that we have as entrepreneurs. We have willpower where we can just make a decision and say, actually, you know what? I'm going to work extra hours. I'm not going to go out. I'm not going to go on crazy holidays. I'm not going to spend my money here and there. I'm actually just going to put it away because I've got a goal and I'm focused on achieving my goal. And the outcome of Sean doing that was having 4 properties. So it makes complete sense. I want to commend you on your discipline. I want to commend you on your sacrifice. And another thing that I want to pick up on is the moment when everything changed for you, from what I've just heard, is when you developed belief. And that belief came when you had that conversation with your dad and you mentioned the property opposite, and you realized that this was not only possible, but it was being done, and your mind just went like that. Your mind expanded because you saw what was possible for you. It's called social proof. So the first thing to look for in any industry, if it's property, is to look for social proof. And having social proof in your own family is very, very powerful. So once your mind decided that this was possible for me, now you're operating on autopilot. Now you're making conscious and subconscious decisions based on the fact that you've got this new belief system. So for a lot of people watching, my biggest piece of advice to anyone watching this, if you're thinking about getting into the property game and you've heard this and you're saying, actually, do you know what? I think I can be self-disciplined. I think I could make that sacrifice. The biggest thing you need to work on is your belief. Can you actually do this? Once you can see yourself doing this, everything changes. And you can develop belief from, watching this podcast, rewatching it and saying to yourself, well, if Sean could do it, I can definitely do it. Right? And that's how the belief comes. You see someone doing it, especially if that person has a similar background to you, and it instantly gives you that belief. And another thing that Sean said as well was that he instantly recognized the benefits of passive income as opposed to active income. And active income is where you're exchanging time for money. Whereas passive income is, when you're able to make money whilst you're sleeping. And it's my favorite type of income. But recognizing that, I think, gave you this extra drive that actually, do you know what? I don't have to slave away. I can make money in this way. Forgive me. I mean, correct me if I'm wrong. You could probably go on holiday now for 6 months and not have to worry about money, right?
I'm fully secured. I think I'm secure. I think my next generation is fully secured, and that's where I am. I'm now just making moves at the age of 38.
Talk us through this deal so that people can get an understanding as to what a deal looks like, how you put it together. Let's talk about that deal.
Well, you're gonna get to a stage. First of all, you're gonna save up for deposits, and you're gonna have to get a cash flow system, and that either comes from a business or it comes through work. And if it comes through work, it requires a plan to siphon some of the earned income, not just to go to the pub or spend on indulgences or holidays. It's sacrifice. And what that does is that trickles money into another pot called savings. And when you discipline on a monthly basis to save, if you've got a structure to that savings, you actually realize that over a certain amount of months, and you can actually write this down and know exactly when that month is coming, that you can save that amount that you need for a property. And once you can save that amount for a property, you can start creating passive income. Then you have something called passive income. And so then there's two routes to save. You save the passive income, and then you save the income that you're saving through your earned income. So there's two. So that's called multiple streams of income. Then you can increase that by working more or increasing your value. However, there's 2 playgrounds out there. There's a self-employed, where you get taxed at source. So as soon as you do that work, at the end of the month, you're going to be paying NI, you're going to be paying taxes, you're going to be paying for any insurances. Or you can play in the self-employed realm, where basically you earn money, you then deduct all your expenses like traveling, electric bills for where you live in, a meal that you've had out because it was a business lunch, and then you pay your tax. So you got to know where you want to be. And if you want to be in the self-employed, that's where the biggest businessmen are, made, in terms of, because they know how to structure themselves to be the most tax efficient in the best way possible, because the system rewards people who make businesses. So that's how I ended up buying my first deal. And then I started saving my earned income and also my rent, accumulating that together and buying my second house. And what did I do? That little game of opening bank accounts, I opened another account. All of a sudden I had a Barclays account, a Halifax account, I've got Lloyd's account. You know, it started spiraling, and I'm like, yeah, which card am I going to use for what? Like, it was my little thing. And what I would occasionally do is add up all the figures together. That one. I've got 50,000. Oh, I've got 60,000. Great. So then I could buy my next deal. And guess what happens? After a couple of years, the asset that you buy goes up in value, because it's not in fiat currency. Fiat currency is something that's not backed by anything. It's just what the government decides what this instrument of money is. And when the cost of goods go up, or the cost of things that are being imported into the country, they're more expensive, it waters down the currency. So your purchasing power is less with that currency. So when you put this instrument called money into an asset, which is bricks and mortar, it hedges. That means it's not affected by money. If anything, you need more money to buy that same asset. And that's exactly what happened, because I was buying as we was just about coming out of the recession. So I entered the market when it was rock bottom. And in the next 2 years, we were going straight through a boom. And where I invested, Stratford, East London, we had the Olympics happen, Olympic 2012 Olympics. There was a regeneration. You had the Eurostar, and you had the biggest shopping centre in the whole of Europe turn up. So what did that do? Well, some of the houses that I bought for 180, straight away they doubled. And what did that mean? Well, when the mortgage advisor said that your 2-year deal's up, should we refix it? I went, yes, please. And he goes, do you want any money? And I was like, what do you mean, do I want more money? He goes, well, it's not worth 200 no more, because I put 50,000 as a deposit, 150 on a loan. It's not worth 200, it's worth 400. And, you know, that extra money, your loan still stays the same. So then you build something called equity, which means that's your money that's grown. So had I sold that property there and then, I would have paid the 150 loan. And instead of taking my 50,000 back, I actually earned 250. So I was like, Tony, how much can I have? And he goes, you can have 100 grand out of it if you want. Okay. And how much is that on interest? And interest rates were, you know, very low at that stage. And he said, it's an extra £200 a month, something along them lines. And I was like, yes, please. I got a check for 100 grand. So what was I going to do? Split it into two and put 50-50 on another 2 houses. So it put my strategy, once I knew that formula and I knew what I was doing, it helped me to propel to get more properties. So what are you learning right now? Well, it's all about creating cash machines. These houses were just cash machines, accumulated ATMs. These houses, bricks and mortar, were ATMs that gave me money every single month. And then you created a portfolio. And so I looked less at what this one property was doing, and collectively I'd add up all my income and all my expenses. And as a loan to value LTV, I would see how well it's performing. And at the same time, as I said, when I was in the bank, I still kept my eye on the job. Well, it meant my salary went up to 25. It meant my bonuses went up another 10,000. And before long, when I got headhunted by the age of 23 to be a premier manager, I was already on £70,000. And it just went more money into savings, not better lifestyle, not more time in the pub, not more holidays, because there was times where I even sacrificed, oh, one of your perks is you get 6 weeks holiday. That's unheard of. Guess what? There were some years where I didn't take not even a day on holiday. The day my daughter was born, that was the day I just rang in and went, I'm really sorry, I can't come. They were like, put the phone down and get to your family. That's how disciplined, that's how obsessed you need to be to get them results. Like, people don't talk about the hardship and the sacrifices. There's been so many sacrifices that you have to make. You have to say no. But today, I'm buying a pub, £1 million with 3 flats on top. Today, I'm buying a deal that's £500,000 under market value. in one of the best roads in Essex, backing onto a golf course. Today, I've got a flat being built in Dubai right now that's already gone up 20% in value. And I'm thinking I'm going to be part-time there in the sunshine and not in this dim weather in winter over here. Today, I'm going, yeah, I can pay £60,000 in school fees and my family's comfortable. My partner doesn't work. I've got my car. I've got their car. You know, I can support my family. I've got myself in this position.
Wow. Gems upon gems upon gems. And I definitely want to hone in on that word sacrifice, because for me, there's two types of pain. The pain of sacrifice or the pain of regret, right? And you sacrificed. And for me, it was short-term sacrifice for a lifetime in paradise, right? You talk about, potentially going over to Dubai. And I want to ask you 2 questions. First question is quite a serious one, and that is, can you lend me a tenner? I'm joking, that's not a question. How much would you say you're worth? And it's a cheeky question, but how much would you say you're worth, and how many properties do you have in your portfolio? Just to give the audience a bit of inspiration, a bit of aspiration, because now we know your journey, and we've got little insights into how well you're doing. But I really want people to know, I want people to dream big. I want people to know that if they do make the sacrifice and they're disciplined, that they can live like how you're living. It really is that simple. And that's why this show is called Success Leaves Clues.
Yeah. Now, in terms of how many properties, if you're asking that question at home, how many properties? Well, first of all, that number doesn't matter. Why? Because if I said I have 10 properties, somebody might say, oh, that's amazing. Well, if that's 10 properties in Bradford, that might be worth 100,000 each. It's £1 million. If I said I had 5 properties, say, well, that person's got 10. Well, 5 properties in London will mean about 2.5 million. So the number of properties doesn't matter. The portfolio, yes, I can share that. It's around about £10 million. Is through I think 50% is just through the power of inflation and property prices going up is to do with 50% of that, and the other 50% is through hard work, determination, building your character, and through perseverance. So look after yourself, have a meaningful meeting, and guess what? When them extra meetings drop in or that email comes in, goes, we want to offer you a sponsorship deal, we want to be collaborating with you, it's like, wow, this has been an amazing day. But this is how you concentrate on them 1% every day. And then 1% will compound. And when you stop and turn back and look at the journey and go, wow, I did it, you didn't even notice. It was just a beautiful journey. No matter if it was hardship, good, bad, ugly, it was your journey. It was your story.
Wow. Absolutely perfect. I love that answer. Phenomenal. So for anyone watching this podcast now, can they connect with you? Is there anything that you can do to help them in their property journey?
I started a YouTube channel, Sean Land Unfiltered. That's where I teach life lessons, skills that I learned by 26 on how to improve. 5 to 10 minute videos. Got a TikTok and Instagram channel as well. So they're the first things where I give simple tips. I've got some free ebooks on my website, seanland.co.uk. So there's some stuff on serviced accommodation where you don't need money to get into property. You can learn about, first of all, deal sourcing, get educated about property, and then you can find other people who don't have time and sell them deals to them. Or you can get the petrol money, which is your rent and a month's deposit, and put things on Airbnb and booking.com. So if you're interested in them things, that's a little starter pack free for you. But I have got something very, very special that I'm just bringing out over the next couple of weeks. So please keep an eye on that. And it might even be out by the time you're watching this. But I'm starting a subscription service. So I'm bringing something out which is roughly costing you about under £2 a day, or £11 a week, which is the price of a meal that you'd go out with. But it'd be $49.99 for a mentorship program, in terms of, first of all, you get an 8.5 hour course, which goes all the way from your mindset to how to make money, to how all the different strategies work, to even live communication calls, to doing deal analysis. So it's a course with also a Discord channel. So every week I will be coming in for 1 hour to give you all of the gems. And, either having guest speakers, mortgage advisors, all the questions that you need. So you're not just left high and dry. You come into a community where you're meeting like-minded people, could be someone in the same area, someone who you can joint venture with, similar-minded people. And it's got all the bells and whistles. It will have deal analyzers, calculators, everything to make everything easy for you. And that's purely because I want to make getting into property more accessible with some real life proof of somebody who's done it. And guess what? I'm also doing a free bonus book in there at the moment where it's normally retails at $49.99. So you get that free book, which you get to keep. And if it's not for you, you can cancel it at any time, which I think people should have the right to do because they go, this isn't for me. I thought it was, and it was different to this. This is too much, maybe work, or I don't like his style. So you can pull out as well. So that's what I am bringing out for all of my audience, you know.
Wow, guys, you know already how I feel about mentorship. Mentorship is the shortcut to success. So if you're serious about your property journey, then I definitely recommend that you plug in. And honestly, your price point, I think, is exceptional, you know, especially in this space as well. I've seen a lot of people overcharge. So I want to commend you. I want to commend you for, you know, offering value to the marketplace. I know that you're very passionate about helping young people as well. Definitely. Which is definitely something that resonates with myself. It's been an incredible podcast, and I know that my viewers are going to get, you know, exceptional amounts of value. I want to hand it over to you for the final words and maybe tell us, you know, what you're up to next.
Well, I also have a podcast myself, so
Hey.
I'll plug that in as well. It's about mindset and motivation. I've started having celebrities come on. Heavyweight champion of the one of the heavyweights, top 10 in the UK, has just come on. A music artist, Juggy D, has just come on. That's my passion. It's something I've got myself in a position to do, that I can have conversations. And it's just about discussing other people's setbacks, failures, how they bounce back, so other people can resonate, because not everyone's going to resonate with the property guy. I really enjoy doing that and growing that platform. Obviously, I'm working on the mentorship, so I need to be present for that as well. So these are some of the things that I'm currently doing. But yeah, all I want to leave you guys with is have some self-belief. If you want to do something in your life, as you said earlier on, Des, is don't have any regrets. Just do it. Just do it. Then there's nothing worse than regret. And remember, this other thing is you can't fix everyone. So anyone who you want to pull up into your journey and help, and they don't want to be helped, do not try and help that person. Why? Because they don't want to help themselves. It's like an anchor on the ship. It stops you in your tracks. You'll pour out of your cup into them and you'll get nothing out of it. Eventually, if that person sees your success, they're either going to join your success and want to join you, or they're going to just hate on you and they would never your friend in the first place. So never ever try and make a friendship where it wasn't meant to be in the first place. You are on your own path.
Amazing. Absolutely incredible. I just want to take this opportunity to thank you for giving up your time, for pouring into the audience, and for giving, you know, incredible amounts of value. And as I always say, guys, you know, don't just listen to these podcasts and leave the same person, right? Go back through your notes and identify where you can take action. Nothing changes unless something changes. You know, if we want things to be different, then we have to make that change. So I hope you guys got amazing amounts of value. Sean, once again, thank you. Really, really appreciate your time.
Des, thank you so much for your time and inviting me on today. If you haven't already, guys at home, make sure you smash the subscribe button, leave us a comment. I promise I'll answer them, and share this with somebody who may need to hear it, and share the podcast, because Des is doing amazing things here, asking all the right questions from an unselfish place to make sure that you get all the gems. So make sure you're smashing that subscribe button.
Amazing. Guys, I look forward to seeing you at the very, very top, because the bottom is way too crowded.